Hey, thanks for joining me today for episode 67 of Podcasting Your Brand. I'm your host, producer Jaime, providing learning lessons for you to podcast your brand. And today I'm going to be bringing you my next Podcasting 102 topic, creative revenue streams, with my pro podcasting peer guest, Alex Sanfilippo of Podmatch and Pod Pros. This episode is brought to you by my own brand, Flintstone Media. Listen in and let's do this. But first, starting with a daily tip. Hey, it's producer Jaime with your podcasting tip of the day. And this actually comes from a consultation call I did with a fellow wonderful member of our community. Hello, you know who you are. And she is considering joining a podcast network. So what we talked about was what, aside from just the genre, the niche, and the theme of the network, what are 3 things you really should consider? So this is what I told her. I said, number 1, you want to make a list of your own pain points. What do you need support with? What do you struggle with? And make sure that that network can meet those pain points. Number 2, you want to find out about the ownership of your content. What is the impact there? Is there any impact there? Are you giving up anything? That is super, super important. Probably the most important thing that you need to know. And number 3, you want to just this actually goes with any kind of partnership with your show. Do a quick background check. Do your due diligence. Are there any red flags associated with this network that you don't want associated with your brand? So those are 3 things, aside from just the theme or topic space of the network, that you really need to consider when considering joining your show to a network. Come back every day for free tips. Podcastingyourbrand.com. I'm producer Jaime. So be sure to subscribe to me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube so you get all of my daily tips and you get them first. And I also want you to be the first to know about my other workshops. I have now 2. So one that I mentioned in the last episode was maximizing your podcast potential, but I also have a launch workshop. So both can be found at toppodcastworkshop.com. Super easy to remember, toppodcastworkshop.com. I look forward to working with you for a live workshop. Okay, so let's get on to today's lesson. Now, as podcasters, we are always trying to figure out, how do we create revenue off of this thing, right? To avoid pod fade or any other frustrations that may come with the joy of podcasting. So I'm so excited to be talking about creative revenue streams with Alex Sanfilippo. He is just going to blow your mind with some of the ideas and content that he is going to be bringing you today. So let's get right into it with Alex Sanfilippo. Okay, so ever since I started getting into podcasting back in 2014, it was because I'm a firm believer that we should be doing what we love for a living and figuring out how to do that, right? So in podcasting, that's a lot of what we're doing. We're trying to figure out, how do we make this podcasting thing something we can really sink our teeth into and make money off of in the long run. So Alex, I'm so excited that you wanted to talk about creative revenue streams. I know I've used a few. I'll just name a couple real quick. In my case, I've used affiliate links. I've used emceeing events. That's come through the wonderful world of podcasting. Also, of course, my podcast is a lead generating funnel for the sales of my services, and in the future it'll be for my courses and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I've used it. And I also know that Alex, one of the things I love about you and knowing you and watching you for so long is you create solutions for us as podcasters. So one of the things that you did, just to kind of lead us off, let's just hit it right on the head, right? One of the things you did with Podmatch, which you created, was you created an opportunity for podcasters to make revenue through that. So let's start with that.
Jaime, thank you for having me. And I love that you know me well enough that you started with that, because I would not have said something that self-serves. So you brought it up for me. So
this is the thing. I know you so well. You're so humble. I'm like, I need to force it out of him. Let's just get it over with and talk about this now.
Right. So for anyone checking this out who's like, okay, what the heck is Podmatch? Podmatch is a software that automatically connects guests and hosts for interviews. It works just like a dating app, but it connects you for podcast interviews instead of dates. So that's exactly what it does. And what we decided early on was exactly what you said, Jaime. Like, podcast creators are giving a gift to the world, right? To ultimately that end listener. And that's what it's all about. So monetization is great, but if at the end of the day you're not serving somebody, what's the point, right? Go find a job somewhere, go do something else. But if you're serving somebody, we want you to continue serving people. So what we did early on, and I don't share this all the time, but we looked at our profit and we cut it in half and said, we're giving this half back to podcasters that use our software. So what that looks like is... Sorry, I'm going to rewind. You're humble and generous. Okay, go ahead, continue. You're making me sound prideful and arrogant just by you saying that. So,
no, you're not.
So yes, so that's exactly what we do. Basically, any podcast host who's using our software to find guests, and they're telling us when they're releasing episodes, because the system gives you all these prompts. So as that's all happening, we are actually we're just doing more or less a profit share with our podcast hosts. And we've got some hosts that they find one guest a quarter, and so they make a few dollars, right? But we've got some hosts that multiple times per week are finding guests. And we have some people that earn over $500 a month just doing what they're doing as podcasters, and we love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it makes me so happy, because like at the end of the day, I believe in indie podcasters, and again, the message they get out to the world. If I can help in any way, I'm excited about it. So we call that our Pod Value Initiative. And that, in my mind, really is a really simple, creative way to monetize. And beyond that, if I could add to it,
sure.
Not just are you interviewing people and monetizing that way, but also anyone who reaches out to be a guest, what we've done internally is we develop just a quick automatic response. Hey, thanks for reaching out to be on our show, Podcasting Made Simple. You have to message us through Podmatch. Here's the profile. So somebody who's not a member will click that link, and if they decide they want to still go through with it, they'll join Podmatch. Guess what? That public profile for each and every one of you that uses it is your affiliate link as well. So you build this system almost that just attracts more people to your affiliate link as well. And it's adding a ton of value to them, because now they're not just going to get on your podcast, they'll get on a bunch of others as well, right?
Yeah,
so build that out, and it's really cool. We love that.
I like that, because it grows upon itself, and metastasizes. Usually when you think of something metastasizing, it's not a good thing. This is a good thing. I love that. Yeah. And also because when we're podcasters, and this industry is still young enough that a lot of people are throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so there's a lot of spaghetti coming at us and saying, do this. This is a shiny object. Do this to make money. Do this is a shiny object to make money. And so there's a lot of different things that have drawn my attention over the years. And there's only so much Jemmy to go around. But I'll tell you the truth, Podmatch and the Pod Pros community and all of that is something I am diving in. I think I said this to you at the last quarterly. I'm diving into this year big time, because I see all of that potential. So I just want to make sure everybody is fully aware that of both the community support and also obviously the monetization opportunities there as well. But so that is fantastic. Alex, you just keep bringing in awesome solutions. But so let's bring in some other solutions. These that you didn't create, but they're also wonderful, wonderful ideas. What you got?
Yeah, I call this the unconventional stuff. So we'll get through as many of them as we can here. And I feel like I have just a running Rolodex in my mind. So we're not going to just ramble on forever. Don't worry, buddy. This will end. But I'll go like a complete opposite, and we'll kind of work our way back to some more podcasting related things. But here's one. Yeah. If you like podcasting, if you're like, I like the entire art of it, there are so many people, and especially companies, that are interested in podcasting as well. Now, you want to eventually push them to producer Jemmy. Like, you don't want to be the person to do this, but what you can do, right? There you go, shameless plug. What you can do is go speak to companies in your city. Yeah. Here's an example. I had somebody call me one day, and they're like, hey, you seem to be a podcasting guy. I'm like, yeah. Will you come speak to our Keller Williams office about podcasting? Just tell us what you've learned. We don't need you to set one up for us. We just want to learn if there's any opportunity for us or anything like that. When they did this, I wasn't some expert, but they paid me hundreds of dollars for 30 minutes of my time.
That's amazing. And actually, you're reminding me the first time I ever spoke about podcasting. Similarly, I got a knock on the door through my email from the Mystery Writers Association of Florida. I think that's what their name was. And so, yeah, I went and talked to them about both the first half of the presentation was the benefits of having your own podcast. And the second half, you'll love this, was the benefits of this was foreshadowing my relationship and friendship with you, Alex. The second half was on the benefits of being a guest on podcasts.
Look at that. That's what I preach. That's what I preach. So I'm going to take this idea a step further, though. After I did that, this was not my lane, and I knew that. So I didn't pursue it any further. But guess what I could have done? I could have called every realtor office in town saying, I just told this to Keller Williams. Would you like me to come speak over there? I could hire a VA for $8 an hour, $6 an hour, and say, blast this out to every bank, every financial firm.
Oh, you're giving me some to-dos for my team today.
There you go. You should do this, because you can also produce it. So you can be like, and the end call to action is you all need a show. Call me when it's time. Here's my card, right? Pass it out. Anyway, that's another really interesting monetization idea that I just think most people haven't considered. And again, that is not for everybody, even not for me, like I said, because I realized that wasn't my lane. But somebody who's really loving this podcasting thing, still finding their grip, get out there and help. That's a really easy thing you can do. And don't forget, the people you're probably talking to know nothing. So I'm not telling you that all I'm saying is you don't have to be the leading expert, because they're not going to ask you any questions that aren't just a total snowball, right? Like, it's all going to be very simple for you.
Right, right. You've been there, done that. So just pull from your own experience. And if there is a question that is above your head, here's how I've handled in the past. You'd be very honest. You say, I'm not quite sure. I haven't faced that yet, but let me go. I have a lot of amazing friends and peers in the community. Let me just bring that question to them and I'll circle back to you. And they appreciate that so much because now they know that not only do you have a lot of knowledge, but when you don't, there are people in your circle who do. So yes, they still lean on you.
That's right. So my next one here, again, I'm going to bring it back now a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I call this one a marketing boost. And I like this one a lot because it it does grow your show if you do this as well. This is when I'm like, hey, Jaime, I really enjoyed our conversation on the show. This is post, right? And I recommend not automating this. Just make it true. If it was actually
very
a good interview,
organic. Yeah.
do this. Yeah. Organic, make it natural. I really enjoyed our conversation. It was really good. I was wondering if you'd want to throw some marketing dollars at this so we can boost it on social media to get more people to listen to it because you're really doing a good job driving them to your brand and it raise a lot of awareness for you. Here's the thing. If a guest says, absolutely, I have $5,000 to throw at it, make it very clear, hey, I'm going to do the work to figure out like the lane this needs to be in. So I am going to keep a percentage for myself, but I will blast it out there and get it out to you.
Wow.
Or just recommend, hey, if you're not looking to make big money, say, hey, let's do it. Let's do $1 a day. You're going to spend $365 in the next year and then keep whatever percentage, right? But if you can get a bunch of your guests to do this, your show is going to take off from a growth perspective and it's monetized. Like,
Alex, you just gave me the chills. I've never heard that idea ever. And it's brilliant. That just because you're okay. So you kind of taking the idea a minute ago when you're talking about Podmatch and almost like crowdsourcing the effort of bringing in more people and and it just spinning in on itself. Similarly, now there's a way for you to do it through this too. You're so smart, Alex.
I've heard all these, just so y'all know, I've learned this from other people along the way. And maybe it was a variation, right?
Right.
This one I'd never heard before, but I heard little pieces of it. And
but it's cool because you're spreading you're not just taking on all the risk yourself. Right. You're sharing that with it's so brilliant.
you know, and the thing to add, if someone heard that and they're like, well, I don't really know how to run ads, that's perfect. You can use, there's all kinds of podcasting tools and you can reach out to producer Jaime who will lead you in the right direction because want this to be evergreen and they seem to show up and leave at any given time.
So and no better way to learn how to do ads than with somebody else's money.
Right? No kidding. Exactly. And you can get pushed in the right direction so you're not taking up all your time. But anyway, keep a profit for yourself. That's important. And you need to make that known. What I don't recommend doing, again, is automating this to be like, hey, Jaime, guest, we had a great time, didn't we? If you would like to boost this. No, it needs to be organic and natural if it's going to work. Not everything's made to be automated. So I digress, but that's my point there.
So people heard me talk with Mark Savant about ChatGPT. This might be one of those things you just reserve to keep it yourself. Keep it yourself.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So the next point I'll give is along these same lines, and it's what I call a skip the line option. So a lot of people they have books they want to talk about. They have some time sensitive, time bound thing they're trying to promote. And for a lot of us podcasters that start doing a good job, we have a backlog. And so it doesn't really work, right? So you're like, oh, sorry, it's 4 months from now.
Right.
But you could say, hey, it's 4 months out, but I really agree with what you're doing. I believe in it. I think this is a good book that's going to be timely for my audience. We have a skip the line option. If you are willing to pay, here's how much it is. I will go through and have my team change the whole production. It is a lot of work on our end, but that's why you're going to help cover that cost. And then we'll put it in for the date that you want it to launch. So it's a win-win situation. By doing that, that's a huge win because someone who truly has a budget behind marketing a book or something like that is going to be like, absolutely. You're going to let it out on the day that my book is coming out. That's perfect. And here's the other thing with that real quick. And then I'll turn it over to you because I really want to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Is if they're like, oh, my book comes out on a Tuesday and you're like, sorry, we only release episodes on Thursday. It is okay to release a bonus episode on a Tuesday if someone is willing to pay for it. Your audience is not going to be upset with you. Now, if someone's paying you to stop producing your podcast, that's a different story. But an extra episode here and there can work out really well. And it's not a lot of extra work for you. And you can capitalize on that a bit and turn that guest into a fan of yours. Because like, wow, they had an option for me instead of just doing what everyone else said, which was, sorry, can't do it. It'll be out in 4 months like everyone else is telling you.
Yeah. And this is going to go back to my number one piece of advice when it comes to sales. listen first, because if you don't have a conversation with your guest, even like before even recording, or if you don't pick up on this within the context of the conversations you are recording, listen for any of those clues that might give you the opportunity to give them an opportunity, right? To put some more dollars in your pocket for a reason. So if you have a conversation and it comes up that this is timely and that they have this promotion kicking off, and you might be able to say, well, I can help you with this, but you might miss that opportunity if you don't listen first. So I love how all of this is compounding. Go ahead. Let's bring it on. Bring it on with the next one, Alex.
I've got one more thing here. It's actually something that Jaime started off saying. She was talking about how we do Pod Talks quarterly together, which is a virtual event that the two of us run together. We bring in speakers and all that. But guess what? It's also my podcast. So what we do is once a quarter, we bring in 13 speakers, and we have them pre-recorded and we stream it live. It's a really unique format, I think, Jaime. I think
it's so much fun. It's honestly, out of all the things that I've done in podcasting, which is a lot, unbelievable amounts. This is something I am so excited that I have on my calendar, because I look forward to it every quarter. It's a good time, great community. I can't say enough. Phenomenal speakers. And what's amazing is no one is ever disappointed. Everyone always leaves there feeling like they got so much value, tons of notes. So yeah, okay, go ahead. So, I could go on and on and on about it.
Here's the thing. Not only is it, thank you for all that, you reinforce my point. It's a great event that we put on, and we charge for it, so people pay to be there, but it turns into the next 13 weeks of content for our blog, for our there are podcast episodes, there are YouTube videos, and they come out one a week. And then 13 weeks later is the next event. And then we do that. We have something gets released every single week, and every quarter we're restringing them all, charging people to be there. And here's the thing. People love it because they get some interaction with the people that are on the podcast. They get to hear some episodes 13 weeks in advance. And here's the thing. It's paying for all of our production. So everything is covered. We have people are like, wow, you do really high quality stuff. I'm like, yeah, it costs us $0 at the end of the year because we break even on it. And we chose to keep it that level. We could probably make money doing it, but consider making part of your podcast a virtual event of some sort. And I'm telling you what, you'll cut back on some of the work, but also maximize the opportunity that's there. And some of your 100%. Community and listenership would love that opportunity to be there with you.
You know, one thing that I don't think enough podcasters do is find what is a unique opportunity that really only they can capitalize on. You know, if you have a show, if you have a community, if you have a business, you have a what is it as an element of that you can bring into the show that nobody else really can? And so you being able to say, hey, I have this whole entire Pod Pros community. I can think outside the box of how I can make this content, create this content, and use it and have them kind of, you know, feed into each other that way. So you listener, as you're watching, think about what is unique about your own situation that you can possibly bring in. Are you a board member of some organization? Can you maybe bring in those people as interviews? Whatever it is, like think about creative ways that you can use what you're already involved in, what's already part of your ecosystem, and bring it into your podcast. And if you can think of an opportunity that helps you monetize, even better. That's so brilliant. So brilliant. Okay. So you've given us so many really wonderful ideas. And I think my listeners' creative juices are really flowing right now, of course. So let's talk about one more thing that people can do. Because, you know, I mentioned before, one of the ways that I use my podcasting is lead generation for my podcast services. But I have yet to write a book. Hopefully one day soon.
We're all waiting.
We're all waiting for it. We're all waiting. I mean, it'll be a comic book. But one day I'll have it. So, but one thing that a lot of podcasters do is they do write a book, or they have a book and then they decide to write a podcast. So whether the chicken came first, the egg came first, books and podcasting really, really go hand in hand. And you know this firsthand. So tell us a little bit about how you've created some books that, again, it all kind of wraps together, but the books have to do with the podcast, have to do with the community. So go into all that.
Yeah, I'll keep it real brief because I didn't write much of the book, and that's kind of the magic of it.
But it's brilliant though. You are capitalizing on your ecosystem. People don't really look around enough and see what they can do with who they already know. So, okay, go ahead.
So I've had opportunity to sign a ton of these books at this point, and all I wrote was a page and a half. I wrote the acknowledgments and the thank you.
I love it.
Like, that's it. Like I said, thank you and the introduction. Sorry, that's what I wrote. But the thing is,
your summits make your podcast. Your friends make your book. This is great.
Right? There you go.
You're brilliant.
It's a beautiful thing because we built a community around it. And so if you're just like for me, we have the softwares, right? So it's specifically around the softwares. But if you have a podcast It can be your guests collectively being the co-authors in the book. And that's exactly what we did. We had 30 people together make up these 2 books, and we had somebody run the process who knew the book publishing space, unlike me or anyone else in the group, right? But we just put all of our expertise together, and you can do that with your past guests. And guess what we did? We charged these authors to be part of it. Like, it's just part of the process, because we were like, hey, we need to break even on the production cost, right? And then we donate 100% of, I've made it very point. I was like, I never want to see a penny from this. 100% of any profit needs to get donated. And we kind of pick those causes and stuff like that.
Sure.
You should take profit. I'm telling you that now. We make profit from our software. That's why we give other things away. But I think it's just important to think about, okay, who have I talked to and what have we talked about? And is there something we can do together because of this? I think that's a really great way for you to monetize once again.
Yes. And the synergy could be a book, or it could be live events. It could be all kinds of things. You never really know what's going to come of it. Or it could be, another podcast. We as podcasters tend to collect them sometimes. So it could be another podcast. You never know. But wow, we could really go on forever, because you're so brilliant in so many different ways, and you've contributed to podcasting and the scene in so many different ways that I have a feeling you're going to be able to come on and do this with me off multiple topics. But if you are listening and watching this, please take one of those and really start to flesh out a good idea for yourself. Because here's the thing. We don't want you to pod fade, right? And there are a lot of reasons, heartbreakingly, there are a lot of reasons why people pod fade. And one of those is because it can get frustrating if you feel like you're pouring so much in and you're not getting anything out. One of those things that you can get out of it can be, the value of the conversation itself, but also, let's be real. Value of money is great. It's a great motivator. It keeps you from pod fading. So if there's a way to defray your costs and even make it profitable, thank you, Alex, for giving people some more ideas. So how can people continue to find, follow, and support you?
Yeah, thank you again. This has been so much fun. I enjoy any sort of collaboration we get to do. So thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Yeah, if you're interested in anything I do, podpros.com/win. It'll give you 5 quick wins as a podcast guest or podcast host. You can read all of it in under 5 minutes. I don't ask for email address or anything like that. And from there, you can find everything I do. But podpros.com/win has got it all.
Fantastic. We'll put links in the show notes. Alex, thank you so much. I can't wait to see what else you bring on the horizon for us as podcasters. As the industry grows, your vision just keeps growing. So keep bringing it on, Alex. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Now let's end with one more daily tip. Remember to subscribe to me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, so you get all of my daily tips and you get them first. And if there's anything that you want me to address in a future daily tip or in a future episode, please feel free to email me, Jaime, Jaime, at flintstonemedia.com. I'll be more than happy to do so. This is producer Jaime, almost signing off for now, because we have one more daily tip to bring you. And remember, the only thing more powerful than your voice is your spirit to use it. So turn that mic on. Now let's get to our other daily tip. Hey, it's producer Jaime here with your daily tip, and we're going to continue our focus on monetization this week. And if you have an intention to monetize, you need to set your table. Just like if you're getting ready for a party or a big dinner at your house, whatever, you got to have the table set in order for people to want to come and be a part of it. So what do I mean by setting a table? That means creating maybe a segment on your show or an element to your show that can be specifically sponsored. So for example, it could be a gamified segment, like a trivia segment, or it could be an audience engagement segment, like answering an audience email. That could be sponsored. It could be a segment at the end of your show where you focus in on a particular lane of your subject matter. So for example, if you have a show on parenting, maybe you have an extra segment at the end that focuses specifically on family finances. And then that could be a segment that ends up being sponsored by like a financial expert, or maybe even they come on and become a content contributor and they contribute content and get in front of your audience on a regular basis by doing that segment for a premium sponsorship fee. The point is, set your table to increase your opportunity, and come back here every day for more podcasting tips, podcastingyourbrand.com. I'm producer Jaime.